My name is Ashley Carter, and I'm 24 years old. I've lived most of my life in a small suburban town in Pennsylvania, where everyone kind of knows everyone. My mom passed away when I was 12, and since then it's just been my dad and me who raised me on his own. And we've always been pretty close. I never had a rebellious phase or stayed out late partying. Honestly, I think part of me was always worried about disappointing him. He worked so hard to give me a good life, and I never wanted to make things harder for him than they already were. Because of that, my dad became both my parent and best friend. I could tell him almost anything, but there was one person who held a special place in both our lives. His best friend, Mark Reynolds, had been around since before I was born. He and my dad, Tom Carter, had been friends since high school. They'd stuck together through thick and thin, including marriages, breakups, and a ton of life changes when I was little. I thought Mark was the coolest person in the world. He'd bring me little gifts, sneak me candy when my dad said no, and tell the funniest stories. He was the loud, charming, easygoing type, the complete opposite of my more serious and cautious father. As I grew older, Mark was still around, showing up for holidays, barbecues, and sometimes just to hang out. He never married or had kids, but he had this charm that made him stand out. Even as he got older, he stayed in shape, dressed well, and always had a confident air about him. People noticed him. I noticed him. I never thought much of it growing up, but then, sometime after I turned 23, things started to feel different, not in a dramatic way, but more like a shift in energy. Like the way Mark looked at me started to linger a little longer, or how he asked about my life with more interest, or how he'd compliment my hair, my smile, even my laugh in ways that felt new. At first I thought I was imagining it. Maybe I was just reading too much into things. But that changed one Saturday afternoon. Mark had come over to help my dad with some repairs around the house. I was home cleaning the kitchen, and I overheard them talking in the backyard. I wasn't eavesdropping, not on purpose, but my name caught my attention. "She's grown up so much." Mark said, "Don't remind me." My dad replied with a laugh. "Still, see her as a little girl holding her stuffed bunny?" "I'm serious, Tom. She's smart, kind, and beautiful. You should be proud." I paused, standing frozen at the sink. There was something in Mark's tone I hadn't heard before, a weight to his words, a quiet admiration. That made my stomach twist that night. I couldn't shake the feeling I kept thinking about. What he'd said about the way he looked at me when we spoke about how he'd always found a way to be part of our lives without ever really settling down himself. The next day, things got even weirder. My dad had gone to the hardware store, leaving me and Mark alone for a little while I was sitting on the porch, reading, when Mark came out and asked if he could talk to me privately. I thought he needed help with something around the house, so I put my book down and followed him to the backyard. He seemed nervous, which was strange for someone like him. He leaned against the railing, looking out into the yard, before turning to face me. "I've been meaning to say something for a while," he said. "And I know this might be unexpected, but I want to be honest with you." I frowned suddenly, feeling like I couldn't breathe. "Okay, you're not a little girl anymore. Ashley, you've grown into this incredible woman, and I can't pretend I haven't noticed." I blinked. Was he serious? My dad's best friend, the man I'd known all my life. "I don't mean to make you uncomfortable," headed quickly. I care about you more than I probably should, and I needed you to know." There was a long silence between us. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt flattered, part of me felt confused, and part of me felt completely unprepared to handle whatever this was. "You're my dad's best friend." I finally said. "What are you expecting to happen here?" "Nothing," he said. "I just wanted to be honest. I've been holding it in for too long." Before I could respond, my dad pulled into the driveway. We both looked up, and the moment shattered like glass. Mark straightened up and stepped back. "You don't have to say anything," he whispered. "Just think about it." And then he walked away. That night, I barely slept. I kept wondering if I should tell my dad, if I should confront Mark again, if I should just pretend it never happened. But pretending was impossible. Everything felt different now. The next week, Mark texted me twice. Nothing inappropriate. just to hope you're having a good day and saw something that reminded me of you. I didn't reply. It needed space, but space wasn't enough. A few days later, he showed up at the cafe where I worked. I hadn't told him. I worked there, but I guess he remembered from a conversation we had months ago. He ordered a coffee and sat in the corner, waiting until my break when I finally walked over to his table. He smiled. "I'm sorry. If I crossed a line," he said, I felt like you deserve to know how I felt." I crossed my arms, keeping my voice low. "You realize how messed up this is, right? You've known me since I was a kid." I know he admitted, and believe me, I've gone back and forth about this in my head 100 times, but I also believe we don't always get to choose who we feel a connection with. I stared at him, and I hated that. Part of me agreed. I didn't say anything else. I walked back behind the counter and tried to focus on my work, but his words haunted me for the rest of the day. Later that night, I made a decision that surprised even me. I texted him, "If you want to talk, come over tomorrow when Dad's not home." He showed up the next day around 5. I didn't try to dress up or act any different. I just wanted to be real. We sat on the back porch again, the same place where everything had shifted just a week earlier. "What do you want from me?" Mark asked him directly. He hesitated. "I don't expect anything from you. I enjoy being around you, and I'd like to spend more time with you. Outside of the usual setting like dating," I asked. He shrugged. "I guess. If that's what it turns into, I'm not trying to force anything, but I won't lie and pretend I don't feel something between us." I looked at him for a long time and I didn't say no. We started texting more often after that. Going on walks, having long conversations. Nothing happened physically. It was more about connection, curiosity, and honesty. I didn't tell my dad, and that guilt sat on my shoulders every single day. Eventually, the truth came out, but not the way I wanted. One evening, Dad came home early and found us sitting outside. We weren't doing anything wrong, just talking, but his face said everything. "What's going on?" he asked. Eyes locked on Mark. He stood up slowly. "Dad, we need to talk." So I told him everything about Mark's confession, about our talks, about how didn't know where things were headed, but I was being honest about it. He looked between us, then back at Mark. "I can't believe this," he muttered. "You were like a brother to me." Mark stood up too. "Tom is where? I never meant to disrespect you or hurt anyone. You could have told me. My dad snapped. You should have come to me. First, not gone behind my back."